Hello, my dear students. Myself Dr. Gaurav Mukherjee, Professor, Sage College of Nursing. Students, today we are going to discuss the topic Physiology of Gaseous Exchange under the subject Anatomy and Physiology. Objectives of the class. At the end of the class, students will be able to describe the physiology of the gaseous exchange occur in the lungs and tissues. First, we will discuss the gaseous exchange. Introduction. Gas exchange involves the alternate process of inhalation of O2 and exhalation of CO2. During this process, gas exchange occurs in the respiratory membrane and in the tissues as a ongoing continuous process. The exchange of gases occur via simple diffusion and depends on the pressure difference. So students, as you all know that when we are inhaling, we inspirate O2, and when we are exhaling, we expirate CO2. During this process, the internal and external respiration is also an, uh, as a continuous process, is going on as a continuous process. So you can see that there is a respiratory membrane. So what is a respiratory membrane? Respiratory membrane is the layer or a surface composed of the wall of a alveoli and capillaries where the gas exchanges between the alveoli and blood in the lungs. You can see there is a process of simple diffusion through which the gases exchange. So the students, the process of diffusion, you can understand that the molecules from high concentration is going to the lower concentration, and it is also depends on the pressure difference, that we can say that atmospheric pressure. Next, respiration. So students, process of respiration occurs in a four phases. First one is pulmonary ventilation. We can also say that it is a process of breathing where the air moves. That means O2 inhaled and CO2 is exhaled out of the body. Second, after inhaling the O2, the external respiration occurs in the lungs where the oxygen unloaded to the capillaries from the alveoli and the carbon dioxide from the blood capillaries loaded in the alveoli. Third, after unloading of the oxygen to the blood capillaries, the gases travels in the bloodstream, or we can say that it is transported via blood streams to the tissues of the organs. And last process is internal respiration, that is occurs between the blood streams and the tissues of the body parts. That means exchange of gases between capillaries and tissue cells. So first we will discuss about the pulmonary ventilation. So as we already discussed, pulmonary ventilation is the exchange of gases, that is O2 inhalation and CO2 exhalation. So you can see that the oxygen is inhaled and it comes to the trachea. It travels through the bronchi to the each lung and it transfers to the bronchioles, and finally it comes to the alveoli, which is also called as the structural and functional unit of the lungs, and we can say that where the external respiration actually occurs. Second phase, external respiration. So already we discussed that the external respiration occurs in the lung where the oxygen is unloaded to the blood streams and carbon dioxide is loaded to the alveoli. Gases exchange at the lungs, gases exchange between the lungs and the bloodstream. You can see in the picture oxygen into the blood. That means oxygen is comes through the alveoli into the blood capillaries, and the CO2 is going out from the blood capillaries through the alveoli and is exhaled out in the atmosphere. Next phase is respiratory gas transport. So you can see that the gases, or we can say that the oxygenated blood is transported via the pulmonary veins, which carries the oxygenated blood from respiratory zone, we can say that from the lungs to the heart, and from the tissues, the pulmonary arteries, or we can say that systematic venous blood to be oxygenated. So in this, that is a form of a lungs, the O2 travels in the form of oxyhemoglobin through pulmonary veins to the left atrium of the heart, and then from left ventricle it pumped to the aorta, and further through systematic arteries it reached to the blood tissues. Then in a blue side you can see that a blue arrow in that, and through the in that the CO2 from the blood tissues in the form of carbonic acid, we can say the bicarbonate ion, through systematic veins to right atrium of the heart, and then pumped from right ventricle through the pulmonary arteries to the lungs, and after that it is exhaled out from in the external environment. So students, you have to keep in mind that the pulmonary veins, the veins carrying the oxygenated blood, and the pulmonary arteries carrying the deoxygenated blood. Gas transport. So the oxygen from the lungs to the heart is travel in the form of oxyhemoglobin with the hemoglobin molecules, and carbon dioxide from tissues it transported via the carbonated in a plasma bicarbonate form and exhaled out from the lungs. The last phase is internal respiration. Here you can see that the gases exchange between the capillaries and the tissue cells. Here you can see that the concentration of O2 is high in the blood capillaries, and the concentration of CO2 is high in the body tissues. So the process of simple diffusion, we can understand that the oxygen which is having the high concentration in the bloodstream is goes to the body tissues through the process of diffusion, because the concentration of the molecule oxygen is high in the bloodstream, it will goes to the tissues, and the tissues carrying the high concentration of CO2, which will transfer to the blood capillaries. Here you can see that after respiration, O2 reaches to tissues for internal respiration through systematic arteries, the blood capillary over the tissues having the higher concentration of O2, which is next diffused to the body tissues, and the body tissue having the high concentration of CO2, which enters to the blood vessels through the same process of diffusion, and from here CO2 reaches to the lungs via the blood vessels, or we can say that systematic veins to the lungs, and exhaled out in the environment. Thank you, dear students. I hope you understand the topic and it will be fruitful for your future aspects. Thanks a lot.